sing new songs when the Bengals bring the pennant home where it belongs. We're all behind our baseball team. Go get 'em, Detroit Tigers! Go get 'em, Tigers!
What's up, my fellow Michiganians, Michiganders, whatever you happen to call yourselves? Welcome to Wolverine State Sports Talk, and today let's talk about the 2021 Tigers season in review. Personally, I give it an A+. I thought it was a great season. You consider the fact that just 2 years ago this team lost 114 games, and now they went 77-85. Major improvement, and that's considering that 2020 wasn't a real season since we only played about 80 games. So this season was a raging success in my opinion, and A.J. Hinch deserves all the credit in the world. You look at this roster, not necessarily many all-stars or star power on this team, literally just one all-star, Gregory Soto. But I will say this, everyone is good. Everyone is a good ball player that belongs on this team. You look at Jonathan Scope, 278 batting average, 22 homers, 84 RBIs. Very good. Maybe not all-star numbers, but very good. You look at Akil Baddoo for his first season, 13 homers, 55 ribbies, 260 batting average. Again, 23 years old, a lot of upside there. You look at the free agent, two big free agent pickups. You look at Haas and Grossman. Both of them were very good at hitting the ball out of the park, which they didn't really do. Haas didn't really do that in Cleveland, and Grossman didn't really do that in Oakland. But they both had excellent seasons, and you can just tell Hinch is getting the most out of these guys. And these are good ball players that you can build your roster around. But they're not going to win you a playoff series or a championship with these guys alone. That's where the excitement comes in. This free agency is going to be stacked with talent. Here's some of the names. Zach Greinke, Justin Verlander, Nolan Arenado, J.D. Martinez, Chris Bryant, Carlos Correa, Nick Castellanos, Jock Peterson, Michael Wacha. And there's many, many more. Absolutely loaded. And then I didn't even mention Seager. This is a loaded free agency class, and you look at what the Tigers have done the past few seasons. They haven't really spent a whole lot. I feel like this offseason is the one where you feel like you have a team that's ready to compete, or at least you have some pieces. You're not really paying a whole lot except for Miguel Cabrera, and that's really it right now. That's the only big contract you have on your team. There's some room to spend, and I'll get to that in a bit. So kudos to these guys right here in the lineup this year. They're going to be a big part of this team for the future. And, you add Spencer Torkelson into the mix. This lineup looks scary. And then you add Carlos Correa or J.D. Martinez to this lineup too in the offseason. This is the offseason to make those additions. And you got yourself a lineup of 2 or 3 guys that can hit 300, and then the rest of them can hit around 260, 270, and also hit 20 homers. That's all you need. It's better to have a consistent lineup than one that's full of a lot of holes where you have guys that are hitting 160 and, popping the ball up. You want to have a lineup where everyone's hitting at least 260 and above. I think this lineup can do that in the future. I think that's really exciting. And then the pitching staff, I think that's where we've really seen the fruits of this rebuild come to fruition. Is the pitching this year was excellent. You look at Casey Mize, first full season starting, tremendous. 3.7 ERA. I think he's going to be a future ace. There's no debate about that. Tariq Screwball, much improved season. 4.34 ERA. Really his first full season. Only 24 years old. Matt Manning, 23 years old. Just came off a great start against Chicago. Went 5 shutout innings, 7 strikeouts. I like what he did. And he was a big surprise considering he didn't do very well in Toledo, but he came up and really stepped up. Ty Alexander, nice season with a 3.8 ERA. Willie Peralta, nice surprise in the free agency market from last year, 3.07 ERA. Spencer Turnbull throwing a no-hitter before getting hurt, having a sub-3 ERA. There's a lot of great pieces in this starting rotation, and then in the bullpen, you look at Funkhauser, you look at Soto, you look at Fulmer. This pitching staff is there. I think especially if you had one great starting pitcher, this starting pitching rotation could be scary. These are guys that haven't played much Major League Baseball, and yet they're on the up and coming. So this was a huge success for the Tigers pitching staff this season, and I can only see it getting better. So you look at that, the lineup, you get one or two more guys, and this pitching staff, honestly, maybe just the way it is fine. And you're looking at a team that could compete for the playoffs next year. I'm dead serious. I'm not exaggerating. I think that this could be the last year that the Tigers rebuild, and this is going to be the year that they start to build. Meaning, not necessarily spending like a drunken sailor, but making those moves in free agency. That leads me to Chris Ilitch and Al Avila. I actually agree with what they've been doing. At first I was thinking, this rebuild is taking so long, but you have to put things into context. And you just look at the fact that Mike Ilitch signed too many bad contracts late in his life. You know, he did everything he could to win. He wanted to win. He wanted to win bad. But the problem is it came with a fault, and completely depleted the farm system, put our team in a terrible financial spot, having to pay guys that weren't even on the team, eating up that salary cap money. And the fact is, you're not going to go on a spending spree when you're still paying a bunch of guys. Like it's so hard to rebuild when you have a guy making $31 million on your team. I mean, that makes it really hard. And no disrespect to Miguel Cabrera, he's one of my favorite players, but his contract was not good from Dombrowski, and it did hurt this organization. I'm not blaming Cabrera because I would take it too, but still. It was not a good contract, and it's part of what made this rebuild so long and tantalizing is how hard we went for some of these free agents. So I think that's why Chris and Al haven't spent so much the past few seasons, and I think that's why they actually want to be careful this season. Al Avila just came up in a press conference and said, we don't want to spend like a drunk sailor. And I actually agree with that. Because when you do, you wind up in situations like this where you're paying guys that aren't on the team, and then you deplete your farm system. And then you know what? As painful as this 5-year rebuild has been, I don't want to go through it again. I want to be a consistent winner. I'd rather go for being a consistently good baseball team. I'd rather be the St. Louis Cardinals than be a team that's off and on like the Kansas City Royals, which were a one-hit wonder. I'm trying to think of a better example of a team that just absolutely splurged and then just didn't really win after that. Maybe the if the Astros didn't cheat, we don't really know. But yeah, I'd rather be a consistent winner than, just spending money that we don't have, splurging in these free agents. Because Mike Ilitch didn't splurge when he first came to Detroit. He did for the Wings, but he didn't for the Tigers. He did it when he saw an opportunity. And I think Ilitch and Avila, they do want to do that this offseason, but maybe tone it down a little bit from what Mike did, because you don't want to end up with another situation like this. So, to me, if you sign one or two big guys, I'm talking like Carlos Correa, Justin Verlander type guys that make everybody's eyes go open really big, then I think that's a good offseason. And then obviously you get a bit of other talent that maybe not the big name, but the guy that can really help your team, kind of like the Eric Haas, kind of like the Robbie Grossman. But the fact is, this team has what it takes to make the postseason next year. They got the money, the capital, the resources, and yes, even with only a couple of limited moves, I think they can do it. I think this team could make the wild card or even win the Central. Tough to say how good the White Sox will be next year, but the Tigers are definitely moving in the right direction. We're coming, and it feels good that we're finally seeing this rebuild start to come to fruition. So I hope that I'm correct in saying that it's over and that we're ready to get back to it. It'll be interesting to see how it goes on this offseason. I think Ilitch and Avila will do exactly what they said with their spending, and you know what happens? Maybe next year, if free agency is really good, 2023, then you look for someone there too. You don't have to do it all this year. But the fact is, this team has come a long way from losing 114 games. Almost kind of feels like the 2003 comeback, going from rock bottom and doing it fairly quickly, actually. Because there's been times where this franchise has lost a lot of games for a whole decade. So we're on the up and coming, and I'm really excited. All right. Thank you all for listening. My next video, I plan to make a prediction on Michigan, Nebraska. Y'all have a good night. Take care.